That was bad. Mm-mm-mm. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Today is Monster Monday, and I'm going to preamble just a little bit as people get past the commercial and the video notification gets out and propagates. Okay, Friday I didn't go live, and I kind of failed to notify anybody in a timely manner. And long story short was like 4:30 in the morning. My kitty, who's right at my right at my hip right now, decided to cough up a hairball, a nice, nasty, moist noise, and you got the cat. The cat full body choke going on. I'm like, oh, whatever. So I get up and it's like, you're half awake, it's dark, and I stepped the hell in it. Like I literally, like, yeah. Your Pocket G says, yeah, you slipped a cat puke, hit your head, going unconscious, missed the stream. Close to it. Close to it. Because stepping in it just woke me. It's like just imagine being half asleep. Yeah, cat nap. Yeah, it woke me the hell up. Like it was just like, all right, kitty, damn it. All right, let me go step. What the hell? So I'm sitting there washing my foot off, and I'm picking it up, and I'm like doing a little spray in the carpet and stuff. I'm like, really, cat? So because she's rather long haired, so I brush her just about every day. Like I've got her to the point where she loves getting sitting down next to me and getting the brush and all that kind of business. And it just apparently this time it just didn't work. So it's like 4:30 in the morning. So then I'm like, okay, do I stay up or do I go back to sleep? So the computer is in of course, as you guys know, this is like a film barrier. Like this is my movie room, entertainment room. So I come upstairs and I sit in the chair and I'm like, well, I'll just stay up for an hour. I'll write or whatever. And I just knocked the hell out, man. I was just like, and my wife yells up at me. She's like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Yeah. It's, I'll show you a little bit behind it. We're going to get to the point, but I'll show you a little bit behind the scenes. This is like one of those, it's a film barrier, like a facade kind of thing where you photographers hang these up to take photographs of people. So there's a bunch of different ones that I have. We have Frozen. Let it go. I can't do too many more lines. We do have our science fiction one, which we're going to use for the rest of the week, but I thought I'd do something a little bit more traditional. And we have ourselves, here's the library. You can't really see that. And then there's like a forest glen, whatnot, but it's hanging up sideways. Anyway, a little bit behind the scenes. Okay, what does all that have to do with today? Not really. Well, this week, in honor of missing out on Friday, this week we're going to do all science fiction. Now, relax. Who's everyone says you're not talking to yourself, laughing about it. Normal. Yes, according to my wife, yes. Like, why isn't he talking to himself? There's something wrong, Yeah, because she doesn't hear it, and then whatever. You guys get it. So this week we're going to do all science fiction. Now I know some of you out there, and especially people who are new, are just like, this is the first video he's talking about cat vomit? What the hell is this about? But the whole point is that that no matter what we're into, we can always learn something. And so this is a little bit because Dead Man and I, we get it. We love ourselves some Eclipse phase. We love ourselves like that transhumanist RPG element, that thoughtful science fiction and stuff. So I said, you know what? I'm going to dedicate a whole week. Now, there is one slight difference in that. Tomorrow I will be interviewing the progenitor and creator of Sinopa Publishing, and we go back quite a ways. It's like 6-7 years or something. So yes. Zevron, of course, brings up Spelljammer. He says Space Jammer. I think he's meaning Spelljammer, but other things we can always pull from tropes from science fiction. All right, so I spent 5 minutes on that, preambling, whatever the case may be. All right, so today's Monster Monday. Monster Monday, we're going to figure out some classic tropes of science fiction, and whether you're into mind you, science fiction in the context that we're talking is modern day to the future, and pulling those tropes that we're used to seeing and then taking those tropes, and we can mix them up any way we want to, whether it's for classic Dungeons and Dragons or medieval or Victorian or whatever the hell you want. Zev says, I wish I had stats for ships because I'd love to do a Spelljammer campaign. Yeah, that's we're on the same page there about talking about like creating stats for ships if you don't have it, or finding games that have finding games that have stats and that kind of thing. Okay, so what are some classic tropes that we can pull from for monsters from science fiction? And there are like 4 or 5 off the top of my head that I think are like your super classic science fiction. Like we see this all the time. All right, so the first one is, and mind you, when we pull these tropes, sometimes pulling tropish things can kind of get a bad rap, meaning like, oh, we've seen it enough, we've seen it so many times that it's already become a thing, you know. Like for example, modern day era, the classic trope is hero or protagonist or victim goes somewhere with cell phone has no signal, now they're in trouble. Hero has to try to, pinpoint where their victim is. Hero goes to find victim, and then they just find the cell phone, right? I mean, that's and everyone's just like, you know what? I got pretty good cell phone coverage. Cell phones don't go out of coverage on the norm like that. You know what I mean? Like it's a trope. Dennis Drangler, who is this? Oh, hey, what's going on there, Dennis? But I'm not going to call you Dennis anymore. You're Drangler from now on. So Drangler says, a cyborg commando with a squad of assault robots under their control. Dead Man says, or worse, germs. So everyone says the Eldritch Horror, the Thing, like Shapeshifter, the Ravenous Swarm, the Borg. Those are my favorite 4. You guys are like right on point. So going into the chat, like Drangler says, a cyborg commando with a squad of assault robots. All right. So one of the big tropes, of course, is the mindless creature, which of course would be the most common would be mindless robots, right? The robots that are, it's the future version of the ancient version of like the zombie horde or skeletons or something, or even like statues. They're mindless, they're unrelenting, they are so unrelenting that they almost ignore the things in front of them. They will walk off of buildings, they will walk through traffic, they will walk through fire, and of course, Skeleton Man. Well, of course, the epitome of that is the classic movie Terminator, and of course, the follow-up Terminator 2, where, mind you, that robot android, whatever you want to call it, had an analytical brain. It had a tactical brain. It could look at things, analyze things, weaknesses, sometimes people's reactions, somewhat copying some of their mannerisms and everything. But the drive in the first Terminator was very much a horror movie because this thing could just not be stopped. So that's a very common thing. And one of the aspects of that is the idea of science fiction puzzle monsters. Puzzle monsters are things that you really can't stop until you figure out the little tips and tricks that you find along the way that help you out. Oh, this thing is affected by cold. We can slow it down with this. Oh, let's use electricity. Electricity stuns it for a little bit of time. Oh, if we cover ourselves in, I don't know, red paint, it can't see us, right? It's affected by fog or smoke. Let's use, fire extinguishers or whatnot. And so a lot of those creatures tend to be, especially the mindless ones, tend to have like there's a puzzled nature to them. Zevron says another drive for that is to wonder who made this robot, why, how did they make more exactly, and it's it's a weird combination of we need to run for our lives and we also need to investigate, right? If you removed the danger, the tension builder, the escalation that keeps happening, it would pretty much fall into the investigation, like a CSI police procedural, right? Who made them? Where did it come from? We found a dead body and a robot that did it. Okay, what capabilities does it have? That kind of thing. And or maybe you just see dead bodies, but no one knows how it happened. That removes the tension, so you would have more of an investigation. But when you have the idea of the investigation combined with the tension, it's everyone is like panicking, running for their lives, and trying to find out what the details are a little bit at a time. Get out of here, run, it can't be stopped, and you're pushing and pushing and pushing. And that's why I'm a very big proponent of using that third pillar, the environment, to help facilitate that tensional thing instead of presenting the evidence in front of the players, and then they get the analysis paralysis, right? If they're being hunted by robots or automatons, mindless things, and they've got 3 days to think about it, they're going to take every hour of that and waste it and just go, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we could. Sometimes you just need them knocking on the front door. So, all right. So we also have like germs and thing. Dead Man brings up germs. And I'm going to spread that out even further. What in terms of what Dead Man is talking about, I'm going to say hubris. I hope that's a correct terminology, correct word I'm thinking of. So let me explain. It is the science tends to have a ton of cautionary tales, just like in the past with Greek and Roman mythology, and about what people should and shouldn't do, warning children, not to run off, or warning people not to trust others, or warning people about elements in our world flying too close to the sun, that kind of thing. Science fiction also has a lot of cautionary tales, and it's that pride, it's the I know better than everyone else, the hubris of science. And a lot of science fiction and a lot of science fiction stories talk about, yeah, I see you're trying to investigate X, but you should worry about Y because it's going to cause Z, right? It's the why are you trying to create super diseases and super plagues and incurable flus and rabies that spreads by that turns people into zombies? And, of course, the person investigating is like, well, we need to find a cure for this just in case. And it's like, well, you created it in a lab for the sole purpose of finding a cure for it. Like, why would you do that? Now, of course, there are logical reasons that may go beyond us, but most of the time it is, I'm a brilliant individual, or my company is going to create this thing. The Planet of the Apes, the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy dealt with that. It was I'm going to create a cure. Hey, Fat Ninja. So everyone says the answer, science. Or your pocket GM brings up, yep, this is the next step of evolution. Yeah, hell yeah. Even the number 2 says they said it was crazy. I'll show them. Classic classic supervillain, Spider-Man supervillain mantra, right? They said I was crazy. I'll show them. Your pocket GM. This is all just a test for the real disease. I need to find human subjects. I'm going to test it on myself. But that's a real thing, right? That is a huge trope of the don't investigate this thing because you don't know what you're looking at, right? When we start going into like the Eldritch horror Cthulhu, a lot of that is like, looking into wormholes, looking into pure chaos. Time travel has a lot to do with that, with the butterfly effect, right? Find most time travel stories that aren't, skateboards and DeLoreans, and you're going to find some pretty horrible things that happen. Well, Endgame notwithstanding, no spoilers, but again, it's the we're going to set up the rules. Everyone tells this person don't do it, person or company or individuals or whatever, or even the idea of like skipping steps. Hey, we've got a 15-step process to be safe. And someone along the way is like eating pizza and scratching themselves, and they're just like, nah, I'll just do 3 of them, and then they take the germ with them on their skin, or they leave something out and the burner falls over the weekend when they turn off the lights or what have you, and something escapes. So that's now as far as that was weird. Now, as far as thanks for the thumbs. Now, as far as using that, of course, those two can go hand in hand, right? The for example, RoboCop has a does that where they've got the robot that they're going to bring in to replace the police and the competing robots, and we really shouldn't be doing this. We should rely on our own police forces and support them instead of trying to monetize the Detroit police force or whatnot. And so I would say that kind of flows into that trope as well. In many ways, trying to stop those kind of creatures, it's like we already know what the problem is, except the problems got loose. So it's more or less we have the information up front as opposed to trying to uncover it. We're like, oh no, you know what? If these 3 things happen in order, we're done for. And then those 3 things happen, and then it's like the PCs are like, okay, we know these 3 things happen. We need to fight through the chaos to get to the point where we can undo the 3 things that just happened. You know what I mean? Ed 109. Yeah. As everyone says, just imagine flying into a spaceport and the sun nearby starts to dim. All the while a reverberating boom can be heard over and over. As the PCs look, the sun eclipses and seemingly opens like an eye, tentacles circling it, empty space tearing and revealing a swarm of beasts flinging to the port, never ending. Of course, that it could be the inaugural test of a wormhole that everyone's just like, please don't do that. And the sun blinks, the eye opens up as an eye. That's pretty nasty, but would be cool. Drangler says synthetic humans used to spread their manufactured disease. Again, going to the air quotes evolution, next stage of evolution, right? Of course, Deadman brings up the Ed 2. Is it the Ed 109 and 209 series? Citizen, drop your weapon. I love that boardroom scene. Drop your weapon. Guy puts the weapon down and he's like, you have 30 seconds to comply. Just counting down and everyone's panicking until the guy gets killed. Oh man, that's one of the best scenes, man. I mean, just because of the brutalistic comedy in that movie that I think they've lost in the other ones. Yeah, Tesla Ranger said no kill like overkill. Yeah, I love the fact that everybody says you have 30 seconds to comply. Shoots in 4. I love how the sound drops out. The weapons go dry, the sound drops out, and you just hear this one person in the background like, call a paramedic. Yeah, it's a really great scene. But again, it's the hubris of humanity, right? We're going to make better cops. And this powerful machine, it's just like, oh, RoboCop's dead. All of a sudden, it's like, it can't take the steps. And it even tries to like gingerly like try to take that first step down the steps. And it's like, I can't do it. I'm scared. Right. It's basically finding out those weird things in science fiction where you have this powerful machine or entities or something, and we know it's powerful, and we have the MacGuffins, basically the MacGuffin, one or more, whether it's a key or programming or antivirus or like taking on Venom in the comics, we have a certain sound frequency or what have you that we know can defeat this thing. It's just either getting it, acquiring it, getting it to the right location, that kind of thing. So it's like, so you can play it 2 ways in that way. Everybody says that guy's chest looked like chunky salsa. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, a paramedic will help that. All right. You're so right, dude. You're so right. I was just like, really? A paramedic? Like, really? Oh, man. And especially that sarcastic comment that one guy's like, looks like there's an opening now. Anyway, the science fiction brings us let me go back further up into the chat. Science fiction also brings us some other things, such as like of course we have the ravenous swarm, right, coming out of space, kind of similar to our zombie swarms, insect swarms, that kind of thing. We do have those where portals opened, or a clone factory, or a portal into space like a wormhole or something. Something happens where we unleash something. Maybe there's a planet that's been quarantined away. Um, Maybe a scientist has been working on something. Maybe this creature or creatures, this disease or old life form has a method of growing very rapidly. For example, the entire Alien franchise, I would say, kind of relates to that. And this is going to relate to something else with the Alien franchise, but the Alien franchise has a lot to do with that, where it's the something gets into people, infects them, they end up carrying it themselves, and then it just spreads very, very quickly. And whether it's a flu-like symptom disease where people die within, from days to hours, or it could be something even worse where, of course, they vomit it up. The classic chest burster, the classic scene from Alien where the actors didn't know that one of their members was going to have a chest burster come out of their chest, and that scene was used in a movie. They had no idea that was going to happen. Zev says, I had an idea to have a symbiote type type creature that is resistant to all but fire and thunder damage, taking stats from the Obelix, the Mordecai's Tome of Foes, maybe. I was going to mention the Reavers. Yeah, Reavers works. Sorry, got my sound on. The idea of this thing that keeps breeding and keeps spreading, the planet Miranda from Serenity. Yeah, with the Reavers, where you find out if you ever see the movie Serenity, they give you the idea of where the Reavers come from, and the fact that it's an infection or a virus. Now, mind you, there are twists and turns to the viral outbreak, right? For example, in Eclipse Phase, and I believe this was done in a movie called Videodrome. I'm probably wrong on that one. Anyway, there's the idea of a basilisk hack, and a basilisk hack is people see something and they see it, whether it's like computer programming or they're looking into a horror that is so bad that it infects their brain and makes them act in a different way. The movie Bird Box is a part of that, where something is released, and when people see it, they are overcome with such horror that life has no meaning any longer. You know what I mean? Like, they just take themselves out. They commit suicide from seeing it's like they've seen something that's so terrible, or that brings flashes of them to their brain of something that relates to their past, their guilt, or the horror that's inside of them. And then that's what it looks like when they see it, because it has no particular form and whatnot. So those are things as well. Now, the alien creature also is something else. And that, of course, is the completely alien, something that cannot be understood. Of course, Cthulhu, right? That is the epitome of that. But meeting the alien race you cannot communicate with, that cannot be understood, that no matter what we do or how we do it, it is completely alien in how it lives. It consumes, I don't know, plastic, and breathes methane, and has 5 arms, and leaves a blue trail of slime or something. Zev says, in Mass Effect, you have the husks. When humans are placed on spikes called dragon's teeth and they impale them, the tech in the spike rewrites their body and turns them into technical zombie cyborgs, unthinking, only having the urge to kill and eat. Of course, it's this drive of this alien force that we don't understand. Now, sometimes we can go Star Trek with this, right? It can be the aliens we don't understand until we find common ground, whether it is aliens escaping from their own horror, such as District 9. So in the beginning, they might look horrible and we fight them and they try to kill us, only to find out that they were enslaved, or they're starving, or they're trying to, this is the only way they know to survive is to breed. And so they may be laying eggs somewhere, or maybe even laying eggs inside of people, or laying them around nuclear reactors or whatnot. It could be a misunderstood creature, much like Godzilla might fit into that kind of thing. Yeah, Dead Man Story. I know exactly what episode you're talking about. Shaka, where the walls fell. Kirk has to. Was it Picard? Anyway, the captain of the starship is placed on a planet with another individual, and come to find out that race only speaks in metaphors, and those metaphors relate to a history that we don't know. So when it's like Shaka, where the walls fell, and it's like, what are you talking about? And the alien's like, don't you understand? It's Shaka, where the walls fell, you stupid. But again, right? It's the movie Arrival is another perfect example of that. The aliens that we don't understand, and they don't understand us. Now, of course, if you try to introduce that as a trope for some of your creatures, more or less, we need more time to investigate. So it might be a slow burn. The alien creatures laying eggs around nuclear power plants, you might have to give them a week before like the danger really falls in, or befalls the player characters. Or maybe there's the astronauts that come from space that saw something they just should not have seen, and they start walking the streets naked, babbling or something, or what have you. They become like hypnotized by something. Even the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where all of these individuals from around the country are like, they have this imperative to get to this one location, all ignoring everything around them, even making mashed potato plateaus with their family before they leave and have to find these aliens and go off with these aliens. You might want to have a little bit more distance, a little bit more time distance. Instead of moments or minutes, you might want to put in hours or even days or weeks to uncover, like, what are they trying to say? What do the crop circles mean? Why are they breaking into our radio signals, and what do those radio signals mean? I hear a tapping and a screeching, and it could be uncovering language or evidence, comparing it maybe to Earth-like evidence as well. Also, a lot of times in science fiction, humanity is the cause of the conflict in the first place, and it's us trying to undo the conflict, as opposed to the alien species killing us or the robots taking over. It's usually our own fault in something. There was a television show called, I want to say it was called Beyond the Stars, but you'll understand when I say this. The show was just all about humanity fighting off aliens, and they were humanoid, and they were in like alien armor and stuff, and we were shooting them, they were shooting us. No one knew why. And the show ends when they finally have a sit down with the alien delegation, because they never communicated with humanity. And the main strike force ends up finding a planet. And during the talks, there's a parallel storyline where the humans find the alien planet and come to find out that their home world, or it wasn't really a home world, it was a birthing world where they placed their children like eggs inside of little crevices, and the humanity found their birthing world. And they were like, wow, this is their children. That's why they've been fighting. Come to find out that corporations in the past were trying to find planets and settle them, and they found these aliens, and instead of trying to communicate with them, they just annihilated the aliens to make space for the corporate enterprise to create a colony, because of course they could not build a colony on a planet that was already settled. And so killing off their children is what caused the aliens to want to annihilate humanity. And so when the main heroes find this out, the corporation activates something in one of the characters who's an android. That android basically puts a bullet in the back of the head of all the main characters, kills itself, destroys the space station, and the war continues on. I know that was a long dissertation, but the point being of that was a lot of times that misunderstanding is our own fault. And it's like the player characters end up discovering that, oh, we've been fighting them and they've been fighting us, all because of a misunderstanding, or something that a few caused the problems and the rest of us are paying for it. Zev says, in Mass Effect 2, you learn the aliens known as the Collectors are a slave race who were once called the, I'm thinking Prometheans or Protheans, cloned and remade to be perfect slaves, no sentience. They used to be the most advanced race in the galaxy, but are now the force to further the goals of the villains, the machine gods known as the Reapers. They kidnapped humans from colonies and stuck them in tubes, turning them into genetic fuel to power and create a new Reaper to signal the destruction of all life in this era. Oh, it is Prothean? I know Mass Effect. I don't know of it, like the specifics. But yes, the idea that humanity's being like harvested, or that we become our own worst enemy, which brings me into the Shape Changer, the invasion of the Body Snatcher. That is a classic one from science fiction. We have that, of course, in Dungeons and Dragons. We've got the classic doppelganger. Lycanthropes kind of, but doppelgangers are the specific one. Of course, we have the doppelganger's pet, the mimic. We haven't brought up the mimic in a long time in these chats. Mimics used to be around all the time. But anyway, yeah, the thing from another world, favorite monster. Yeah, the mimic, of course. But the doppelganger is Gripchild, long time no see. Hey, what's going on? Thank you very much for joining in. I appreciate it. But the sometimes the most horrible thing is us. It's the idea that we see ourselves, we see our body language and things we love and how people react. And we know that one human being, when we see another human being, we know their limitations because we know our own limitations. Even if they're taller or faster or more muscular or more athletic, we're just like, they're just another human being. But like looking into the eyes of a serial killer, and going beyond that, when you have horror movies where you have the Michaels and the Jasons, and the Freddys, it's the human, but inside of them, there's something far more insidious inside of them. And that's usually where the real horror comes from. The Joker laugh when they're killing someone, the dispassion when their limbs are hacked off of them. I miss watching you live, but I'm usually asleep. You're not the only one. Most people are asleep when I go live, so it's fine. So thank you so much. But absolutely, it's the invasion of the body snatchers, the doppelganger thing is very much, you wonder, there's always the question of when did they change bodies? How much did I reveal? And why didn't I know this individual was hiding under my nose? That's another thing too. It's very much of, I wish I knew. I wish I could tell. I don't understand. Why didn't I understand this individual who, my loved one, my loved one has become someone else. And why didn't I know my loved one who was kidnapped or stuck into a tube or something has been gone for 6 months and I've been living with this other individual? That's very much the horror of what the invasion of the body snatchers trope, the doppelganger trope is. It's very difficult. Now, unfortunately, as great and as horrible as that is, it's very difficult to do in a role-playing game, to do it effectively. Because either one of the player characters ends up becoming one of these doppelgangers, and they have to be in on it, and we fall into the obstacle of having a secret from the other player characters, and how long do you stretch that secret out, and how fun is it for the reveal. And it's also, if none of the player characters are doppelgangers, one of your NPCs has to become one, and that means that you have to have enough NPCs that are invested enough in your player characters' lives. The players have to want to know that the old lady that makes the pastries, how she acts, the king that sends them on their missions, or what have you, that they have enough NPCs in their behavior so that when the flip happens, when the behavior changes, when the NPC starts calling them Jonathan instead of John, and the player's like, why does he keep calling me Jonathan instead of John? He always called me John. It's finding out those little things when they eat, I don't know, they agree to eat pasta, and it's like they don't like pasta, and finding out dropping those little clues until the player characters, it's revealed, and then they go, aha, yeah, wow, that was 6 months ago. I didn't know. Where's the real person? Where's the real grandma that used to make us pastries? You know what I mean? It's very difficult to do that. Zebron says, I know I'm human, and if you were all these things, then you'd just attack me right now. So some of you are still human. Yeah, it's the movie The Thing, where they end up finding out that fire, like electrical spark and fire, will really get it to it's like it's very painful to it, and so everyone's looking around like, okay, somebody in this room is the thing. So we're going to find out. We're going to do a blood test with everyone, and each person is looking at each other person, finding out just when the hammer's going to fall, who they are, and especially if whatever is infecting or spreading around, whether this body snatching thing is happening, maybe the PCs don't know they're going to flip. They're like a sleeper agent. That's also a hypnotic thing. Now, Grimchild says, I had a nightmare that my grandmother had passed away, and when we were cleaning out her house, we found out that the walls were full of skeletons of men, women, and children dating back 70 years. And I suddenly realized that grandma had been feeding us people forever. That's that's pretty bad. That's really dark and sinister, but I love it in a non-morbid kind of way. Yeah, in the comics, the Thing figures out how to fool the blood test. Of course, you always have the place filled with. That was a really bad dream. Yeah, it sounds pretty horrible. There's a comedic version of that story called Arsenic and Old Lace. It's black and white movie of these old ladies who are like, they basically bring people over to their house and put arsenic in their tea and kill these people and put them in their basement. And they're these nice old ladies. I didn't mean to go down that if that brought up like really bad memories, but yes, that horrible, like, sleeper agent kind of thing. Not too many people have seen Arsenic and Old Lace, but yes, it's a comedic movie. Pretty horrible if you think it's pretty horrible. Once you get past the jokes and the ha-has and the hoo-hoos, right? But again, sleeper agents are another thing that's really horrible too. The idea of the hypnotic message in the brain. Maybe someone sees a program on a computer, and all of a sudden it's into their brain, and then they realize that when they hear a sound or certain clues or certain bright lights, that they go about pulling out their weapon and starting to shoot people, and they're like, I can't control this thing. Yeah, Group Child says the realization that reality isn't what you thought it was. Yeah, hell yeah. Zeb says the thing ends up in a tiny something, I think, in Denver. The thing, the creature, ends up in a tiny town, I think, in Denver, and within 90% in a day, 90% of the town is taken over. It gets nuked to contain the infection. Yeah, it's putting nukes and atomic weapons and like mass drivers and those kind of things in the hands of antimatter weapons in the hands of players. You got to be careful with that because they're definitely going to want to use them to stop something like that. The hey, we're just going to have to take out the whole city to stop it. Now, of course, you could do it the opposite way. The players are in a location that will get nuked, and they have to get out of it. That is a common trope to the zombie apocalypse, and the players, the main characters, have to escape before something befalls the city, usually like a New York City, Manhattan Island. All the bridges are closed and the infection is kept here and the players are like stuck in the middle. You've got to run out of it. Drangler says another trope, the advanced and seemingly benign artificial intelligence that turns out to be a malevolent megalomaniac. Yeah. I can't let you do that, Dave. Dave, what are you doing? Yeah. Yeah, Dev says pulls out Russian code book, read. Of course. And we've seen that plenty of times too. The AI that helps control society or traffic or the company that puts Skynet online, hey, this is going to help out everyone. And of course, it helps people out for so many things. And then it becomes malevolent and megalomaniac. The most recent movie, Ex Machina. Ex Machina kind of deals with that without giving away too many spoilers in that movie. It is the idea of an AI that looks so benign and is so, I dare say, attractive, addictive, something that you thought you couldn't live without. An AI system that we carry around with us all the time until it becomes the thing that we embrace. And if someone were to take this out of my hand, I would smack them in the face and wonder what happened. It would be, oops, maybe that's a little too close to home. But the point being is that it's the AI that becomes, what's the movie again? Will Smith, iRobot. iRobot is, the idea of robots become, ubiquitous. They go around the world and they help out people. They help to raise our children and clean our houses and take care of our elderly and fix roads. And there goes the flipping of the switch. You know what I mean? So everyone says, I wonder if GLaDOS counts as benign. She attempts to kill you with tests, but is polite about it until you remain a block that was part of her. Oh, until you. I'm assuming until you block part of her system. I want to say that kind of like the robot in 2001 Space Odyssey, and a lot of times, remove a blocker. Sorry, I'm trying to. I understand it's the thumbs, so I try not to be too harsh with that with reading the chat, but there is the idea of the confluence of malevolent horror combined with a polite, almost even jovial nature to machines that becomes quite horrible when the machines are like, no, I'm just trying to protect you. They seem to have this slight uptick in their voices, like, is there something wrong? It's almost like this. It's like a light and airy effect to the voice combined with the horror of them like slicing someone open and hearing the screams, or what have you, annihilating people and hurting them into like cattle. And it's like, please, citizens, remain calm. This is for your own good. It's basically that kind of thing where it's why we don't like animated dolls, right? Children's toys that are, kill people. It's why we don't like, we are afraid of domestic pets becoming malevolent. It's why we are afraid of our home appliances becoming that way. The things that we ignore, the things that are part of our that are part of our world. I'm talking Tina. Exactly. You shouldn't hurt him. Whatever. Yeah, I'm talking Tina. and I don't like you. Exactly. Exactly. You hurt him. You're going to pay for that. With a smile on the face. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Yeah. For those who don't know, I believe that's Twilight Zone. Oh, you guys are testing me with the pop culture thing. Yeah. Zevra says she tells you she has a birthday party planned for you if you don't beat the next room. Once you beat it, there is confetti. He's like, I'm sorry, there's no cake. The cake is a lie. Do you know what we do have? Deadly neurotoxin. Would you like some? Of course you would. Yeah. Grimshaw says, yep, deep cut. Of course. But it's the also it's the this isn't a trope, but it is a thing that we are afraid of when it comes to AI, and it is like bringing up like we don't have cake, we have neurotoxin, where the machines don't understand the differences between those two. Since for a machine, cake and neurotoxin are basically equal because the machine neither knows what cake tastes like and is neither affected by a neurotoxin. So it wouldn't understand that humans would be affected by it the same way. It's like, oh, it's a consumable. Here, have some, right? But so that is a fearful trope. Now, of course, we as humanity figure, well, we'll train AI not to give us neurotoxins. It's like, please don't drop a jellyfish, a living jellyfish in my bathtub. It's not a pet. You know what I mean? Zevron says, if you ever want to have good sassy insults, look up GLaDOS's quotes from Portal 1 and 2. I haven't looked those up, but I do understand that they're pretty remarkable. Oh, Prue, hey, what's going on? Prue says, like the AI machines nowadays that often don't recognize Black women. Hi, nice people. Yeah, there are some rather funny things where like facial recognition doesn't recognize certain things. What was it? Someone tried to post a picture of a bat online, and the bat assumed it was genitalia and blocked their channel or something. It was something weird like that. Zevron says, you can really make your NPCs loved, but hate it because of how funny, but hated they are. Yeah, it's the being pleasant, but like doing like horrible things. That's really cool though. Or having like really snide remarks, i.e. from the movie Her. If you haven't seen the movie Her, while it's not action packed, it is an excellent rendition of our relationship to artificial intelligence, or technically in the movie, it's an operating system, OS. An excellently portrayed movie with basically one main actor and a voice. It's really great. Prue says the smiling is not for the AI problems because those are creepy and ooh. Yeah, and good to hear from you, Prue. I know it's been a little while. Finally caught up with the time changes, I think. Zev says, someone asked Siri to tell them a joke. She responded, your life story unfortunately has too many words to repeat. Yeah. It's like, wait, what? Like, oh, I guess that's funny to you. Uh, but we basically can learn a lot of, not learn, we can steal a lot of things from our classic tropes from science fiction, and a lot of science. If you think about it, a lot of our endpoints, right? We have our medieval fantasy, we have our science fiction, and there's this big loop where it all loops back around to the beginning again. So they're not so different as to say like us not being able to put the alien creature or predators into our medieval world. It's just looking at them in a different way. And in many ways, a lot of our science fiction likes to go into the science can't explain this thing kind of trope. For example, the movie, I want to say Event Horizon, or movie like Sphere. There's so many other ones, but the idea about that is going back to the Eldritch horror, the Cthulhu, where there's something out there so advanced, or something out there that we should not be looking at. Whereas, we shouldn't obtain light speed or warp drive or wormholes, because if we look at it, it will drive us mad. It will release something into our world into our three-dimensional world from, some kind of fifth dimensional dimensional horror that will infect our brains and then we will release it, or there's some kind of space cult that has looked into the pure chaos and now it wants to bring it here. The movie Sphere, they end up based on a book of the same name, I believe, dealt with the crew finding basically a sphere, and the sphere is spoilers, it's an old movie, is like a wish machine, and the wish machine is such that both consciousness and unconscious thoughts bring about things in reality. And you find out that humanity has already found this device, and humans from the future have basically cast it away, and the crew finds it. And so this is weird loop discovery of what this thing should be, and should humanity have basically a wish machine, and what would your subconscious, how powerful is your subconscious versus the conscious mind? I mean, it's all of that combined together. Yeah, as everyone says, sorry, going back on the chat. Sorry, Grimchild says the most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. You know, that while that's a trope, that is a thing where it seems like we're unable, or one of our limitations is that we're unable to reconcile the differences in our brains. And so, you know, using science fiction, we're able to exploit that in our stories. And I think it's possible. It's difficult to do in a role-playing game, but it is possible to do it where, like bringing into reality the failings of a PC, right? Maybe there's a great warrior in your medieval game, but he failed to defeat some enemy or is afraid of not being able to defeat an enemy, and that becomes a real thing. Zev says, yet liking Slad's doppelgangers, great old ones, celestials. Those are all like those. You're bringing up a list of those monsters that are not. We can't quite understand what they are, right? You know, they're kind of beyond the pale, beyond the norm, and they have motivations that we just don't understand. They have long lives. They do things and go places that we'll never be able to go. Grimchild says, we live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but someday the piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and our own frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. H.P. Lovecraft. I love that. I love that. It's just like, whoa, whoa. It is. We really should not be doing that. And a lot of science, I mean, if you think about the core of science, one of the cores of science itself is discovery, looking further, turning the page, looking over the horizon. What's one more thing, you know? Yeah, knowledge is bad, okay? Yeah, right. It's the please don't touch that. You know, it's the don't touch the red button, gotta touch the red button conundrum of humanity. You know, curiosity killed the cat, but at the same time, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You know, it's the fight inside of us all, that on one hand we should always be pushing. You know, the desire for humanity is to spread and to push forward and to go where we've never gone before. But then on the other hand, it's the we should be content where we are. It's the there are things man was not meant to know, and we shouldn't need them. Yes, everyone says Lovecraft needed therapy and to not be racist. Yeah, a lot of I believe we are enlightened enough to look to the writers at that time were pretty full of themselves. So yeah, on one hand, we can appreciate, you know, the Lovecraftian things, the Conans, the War of the Worlds, and all those kind of things, right? But yeah, they were pretty cringeworthy as far as their depictions of so-called lesser peoples. There's a lot of that. He proves his amen, Zev. Yeah. Wait a minute. What are you talking about, Zev? Yeah, stupid thumbs. No. Well. At least I got your thing about the slots and doppelgangers and all that kind of thing. Yeah. Grimchild says, Lovecraft was racist, but I wonder how we'll be judged by even more enlightened rising generation. I think we'll be. Despite what people think, we'll probably be judged pretty harshly. I mean, even for me, I like giving you a little personal note of my background. This isn't a. Sorry, I'm about to say something that hurts a little bit, very slightly, and it's not anyone's fault today, but within the African American community, the idea of reading stories and seeing movies and televisions where it just became a trope where it's like, oh, is this another Great White Hope kind of story? And I know that sounds brutally rude, but it's a thing that for many people, I mean, if you're Caucasian, you don't see it, but in our community, it was just like you just roll your eyes. It's like, oh man, really? Another one of those stories? Tarzan and Doc Savage and like all the what's the Robinson Crusoe, and like there's a ton of stories, and so those stories were done in the past, and so we get really frustrated when it's like, are you doing another story like that again? Yeah, Dances with Wolves, Fern Gully, wow, Avatar, like it's just like it's like really like another story of that. Count of Monte Cristo, kind of, yeah. But that's a side note of a like, that's the idea of using a trope over and over again without taking it and then twisting it so that you really get something unique out of it, as opposed to just repeating the last thing too. Yeah. So anyway, you guys are saying like Proust has agreed, DBJ. I still like reading Lovecraft, but I read from another place now than when I was a teen, and thankful for that. Yeah. I think a lot of, well, at least I hope, I'm hoping that a lot of us role players, like when we read those things, like we understand that it's from a time period without needing to destroy it. I don't believe in destroying history or editing history, but to understand it. So I'm just like, yeah, I get it. I get it. It was created from its own era, and although those thoughts should be left in that era. You know what I mean? Yeah, Zev says, oh yeah, I saw that, Zev. Zev says, I had said I love how people don't like sci-fi yet have monsters, have those monsters in their games all the time. Absolutely. Bruce says, oh yeah, we're ignorant trash too. Of course we are. Zeb's, oh yeah. When you said the slot and doppelgangers, great old ones, celestials are all technically sci-fi, I absolutely agree with you. I'm with you where they are creatures from the great beyond. They're not necessarily from another dimension. They're normally thought of as like living in worlds that we don't yet understand. You know what I mean? And we could go there, but we'd probably be driven crazy. Wow. Bruce says, I don't think so, but I need Black people to say it out loud to see it. Yeah. Like I said, it's not, by the way, talking about that, it's not as prevalent as it ever has been, but at one point it was super prevalent. It was just like, really, again, I mean, there are movies about teachers going into the hood. There's movies about, the cop going into the hood. I mean, there were television shows based around it. It was like, again, man, it's crazy. Anyway, mind you, it's from a personal point of view. So, it's not necessarily that it's true, but it seemed true enough to have an effect, if you understand what I'm saying. But forgetting that, Drangler says Count of Monte Cristo. I love that story. I love that story as well. A very classic, somewhat, it has little bits of slight racial overtones, although the story of the getting revenge and taking years to do it. I love that. Grimchild says your experiences doesn't sound rude to me. I've seen parallels being LGBT. Yes, absolutely. I which is why I think in the future I think we'll be judged pretty harshly, right? So I cannot. I absolutely positively agree with you that the quilt bag community, yes, I'm using that term, the quilt bag community is seeing their due nowadays. Yeah, I don't get it sometimes. Prue says, I'm thankful for people speaking such things out loud, even if it pinches me a little sometimes. Same thing for me too. I need to be put in my place. There's plenty of times when I've been put in my place and going, oh shit, did I really? Perfect example. I used to love hip hop and rap music. And then I listen back at some of the words and terminology, and I'm like, maybe we shouldn't be calling women such things. Maybe we shouldn't be using gay as a euphemism for being weak and a pushover and an outsider. You know what I mean? That's a huge thing in hip hop music, right? It's like we got to grow past that. You can love one thing and then hate the other thing that's part of it. That kind of thing. Grimchild says, and I'm trying to be open to learning from other people's experiences. Me too. So everyone says having races of aliens be LGBT analogs that are treated as not normal or against what is understandable, but is okay because they aren't human is irritating. Like, quote, this race is so weird it doesn't have a gender binary. They all are non-binary, just makes actual non-binary people irritated and feel that much hated. That's the love I have for, and a lot of us have for, the classic, I don't want to say classic science fiction, but where Star Trek was able to go, and classic science fiction where we're able to use a parallel of aliens to look at ourselves, which is why I find it kind of rather funny that people were very, very, very annoyed and irritated when Wizards of the Coast said that elves could change their sexuality because they were basically not just androgynous, but what's the other term? It's not hermaphrodite. It's because I know that's the wrong one, but they can choose the appearance. They can both choose their genitalia and the way that they act socially and mix the two, right? Gender fluid. Thank you very much for that. My terminology is bad, but my transgender maybe. Yeah. So people were up in arms about that. And I'm going, but in science fiction, that happens all the time. Yeah. Gender fluid. Yeah. And I'm like, on the show, The Orville, there's the entire race that are all male gender, right? And they take their children and turn them male gender. And it's a way for us to look at that and to, I understand we're flowing into quilt bag into the end of this chat, flowing into quilt bag problems. But my issue with that is it's not a problem. Well, Dead Man says Shadowrun did that as well, right? And I'm like, for me, and this is weird to say, I've always thought that about elves, right? No offense to the outer community out there, but I always thought elves were kind of like a little bit like the male elves were kind of, it was very difficult to tell the difference between male and female elves, to the point where I'm thinking like it doesn't take a leap of imagination to think that the visual portrayal of elves and their mechanical portrayal would mix. Like I get that. I was like, why are you up in arms, dude? Yeah, your male elf looks effeminate because he probably is, right? And that has no mechanical bearing on the game, right? You know what I mean? It's like, what? I never understood that. Why would you get up in arms about that? Zevran says, I didn't like it because it belittles the gender fluid identity. Oh, to an alien thing, because elves are not human thinking. I could see, as someone who isn't, I very much can see where you come where that idea is very irritating. I can agree with that. I can see somebody going like, why? Zev says a struggle we deal with is just treat it as a non-issue because they can change to how they want. However, I'm like, I'm okay with it, but the wording was insensitive and poorly written. That's usually the idea. Like me, I can tell you right now that the way I communicate what I'm trying to say sometimes can be quite insensitive, but I'm open-minded enough to be told that I am being that way and to learn. Like I'm a consummate gray hairs, old man and all. I can always learn yet one more new thing. So I don't understand people who don't want to learn new things. It's like, I'm stuck where I am and I'm not going to change at all. It's like, really? But for me, my thing is don't ignore it. I'm like, put that in your game. I love ideas like that, like to put those things in. Bruce says, what I love, though, is the more we talk openly about these things, the more and better stories we get. I'm getting movies and TV shows. Not that I didn't know I needed, right? I'm with you. Grimchild says, first edition of deities and demigods, most of the Seldarine, the elven gods, were described as male, female, both, or neither. That's another thing. People forget that the elven gods were actually described as being gender fluid since the second edition deities and demigods. It's funny how that thing is. Grimchild says, so it isn't really a new thing. I first of all, I absolutely agree with you. And second of all, it shouldn't matter whether it's new or not. Let's learn something. Yeah, Dead Man says consummate student. That's me, dude. That's me. Bruce says, thanks for giving your perspective, Sam. Grimchild says, it seems that some people see the inclusion in the new edition as SJW pandering. It's whatever. Okay. Carillion? Is that Carillion? Oh, Carillion. What's the last name? Oh, Elvin Leanderthal, whatever. Anyway, yes. Carillion is called male, female, and neither in all editions. Yep, absolutely. And elves are born from the blood of Carillion Larathian? Is that it? Carillion Larathian? Yeah. The elven god who was male, female, or neither, or probably a combination of all those at some point. And the elves were born from the blood spilled from the it's been in second edition. Like, why are you pissed off now? But I will say, like, goddamn D&D names, yeah. But I will say that sometimes something that we can do in science fiction and in role playing in general is the idea of creating situations. Because I'm going to, what we're talking about, I'm going to make it a wider spectrum, is portraying things that we normally couldn't portray in our real lives, right? I can play a character who is female, I can role play that out. I can have, I don't know, an alien race in my world that is all one gender. I can have aliens that meet human beings that don't have a gender, like frogs or something that can give birth to themselves. I can have and include those things without. I know some people, the minute it's brought up, are like, oh, you're pandering, or you're being social justice warrior or something like that. But my feeling is, why ignore an excellent and underserved role-playing experience because it's called role-playing? I came upon the same thing when I started role-playing in games, where people were like, oh, Black people don't exist in Tolkien, but we have dragons and dwarves and orcs, right? It's like, well, sure, but why? Dungeons and Dragons isn't J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle Earth. It's not the same thing. It's, yeah, so I can see where other people are like, I'm Asian. I'd like to play, my character as looking and sounding and being like myself. It's like, well, why not? Not only that, but Dungeons and Dragons has pulled from, and so many other role-playing games have pulled from our entire world's cultures eat for like creatures like Jinn and Ifrit, celestial dragons from Asia. There's African creatures that are pulled. They're from so many eras and so many cultures. Why can't we include the people that they represent too? You know what I mean? So I think we're just losing. I think it's just a pathway of role playing that we're just not going down. Even if you include it in little like seasoning, you want to add seasoning to make your meal taste good, but you don't want to over season it. But at the same time, you want to add the seasoning or it's just bland. Yeah, Dead Man says even worse, D&D names translated to other languages. I'm sure a lot of that is translated, and people are like, "Why are you being rude to me?" So everyone says like, "I can't smite evil with the Holy Avenger while growing angelic wings and fighting the never-ending horde of demonic forces in real life either. So what's wrong with wanting to do that as a woman or someone of no gender, right?" Exactly, right? Like Prue says, "Wait, you can't, huh? That's weird. I do it all the time." It says, "I haven't hit level 20 yet. Missed a couple sessions." You guys are silly, but great. But as always, we at this channel, we meaning you guys, meaning me, meaning us, we are here to embrace everyone and everything, and basically go down pathways that we can add to our games, no matter what that pathway is. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's weird to say this, but by making things, including things, and then making them a non-issue, I think is more important than making issues out of things that are non-issues. If that's a weird way of me saying it. Anyway, Grimchild says, "I ran a Gamma World game. One male player gained a new mutation of serial immortality, though he didn't know it. He became self-impregnated and got a baby bump. He didn't know what was up until Fat Ninja's DM says, well said, DBJ. Yeah, everyone's included. Even hell, if you want to go down certain paths, there are a lot of underserved people that it's not been done well in role-playing games. And I feel like the best thing is to do it, make mistakes, and then grow from it. And then just we can just get better at it. You know what I mean? We can just become better people for it. And by the way, on a purely money-wise, it's a marketing thing too, right? For people who are, let's say, blind to get into role-playing games, it makes sense to advertise to them, hey, we want you to play this game, and we're going to make it so that a person that is blind can play this game. We're going to print it in Braille. You know what I mean? We want to get to, I don't know, people in India. We're going to, we're going to find people in Madagascar. We want to find people in, Southeast Asia. It's like, it's a money thing. So yeah, we want as many people to buy our products and to play the game so that the games don't disappear. You know what I mean? Oh man, Grimchild says, I'm sorry, Deborah says, DM didn't want to do story progression XP, insisted on CR XP budgets. Really? That's weird. Grimchild says his character died and gave birth to himself with a rapidly maturing child that retained his own memories. That's nasty. I love that. It freaked him out at first until he realized how powerful that was. I love that. Self-impregnated and gave birth to themselves. I really love that. Oh man. Zeb says, just don't look at Avengers number 200. Yeah. That was bad all around. They did Carol dirty in that story. That was before we started fridging women in comic books, right? That was where Carol Danvers basically gets long story short, gets raped by a demon who then gives birth rapidly and gives birth to that demon in this world. It was just like, really? And of course, she's the female character of the group, so she's got to be done dirty. You're not going to, Captain America or Iron Man aren't going to be forcibly sexually assaulted and then give birth to a demon, right? That's not going to happen. Zeb says a couple months before fridging began. Yeah. There's a classic image of one of the Green Lanterns finding his girlfriend or maybe wife at the time, shoved into a refrigerator, killed and shoved into a refrigerator. And it was like, that was one of the like, all right, really? Like we get the trope of one of my loved one dies and I'm going to take revenge and it's going to push me. But it was just like, really? Like, oh man. Zev says a couple says they do bring it up and fix it in a later story, and she's justifiably pissed off. Yeah. Grimshell says that then I won't tell you what happened in the superheroes game I ran in the 80s. Grimchild, always bringing the grimdark, right? So anyway, guys, tomorrow we will be having I'm winding this down a little bit. Tomorrow we'll be having an interview with with the progenitor of Sinopa Publishing, someone that I know of, has done a number of Kickstarters, has a number of products out there, and yeah, staying on brand, of course. So we'll be having an interview tomorrow. I will be posting that up. Now, the interview won't be happening at this time period. I'm going to be doing the interview in the evening. So yeah, my time's been up for 16 minutes. I got a little bit of time left. I've got my lunches and everything built, made for me. Yeah, and the wife hasn't quite gotten up yet. So anyway, so that will be happening. That will be inserted in between some of my videos. So I'll be doing the interview probably between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that will be open for questions, but it will probably not be in your normal time area. So tomorrow I will be doing a morning stream and then the evening stream. That sounds really bad. Most of us stream at some point in the day if we drink a lot of fluids. But anyway, that being said, that will be included, and we're going to do more of our sci-fi tropes during the week, of course. Tips and tricks Tuesday, world building Wednesday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. By the way, Drangler Shank, thanks for popping in. Thank you guys for participating in the chat. I couldn't do this without you. This is like my morning coffee. Mind you, I should start asking again what time zone people are from, because I know many of you are from around the world, and I start to lose track. Yeah. So everyone said head hits desk at that joke. Yeah. Prue says it's good to be back. Hope to join more often again. Have a nice day, everyone. Looking forward to the interview. Yep. Everyone says it's 6:17 a.m. right now. Yeah, you're an hour behind me. Oh, Chicago, 1 p.m. See, that's I love our world. I love the fact that it's wow. How are you guys getting up that early? My ass doesn't even get up that early normally. For you guys to be part of a live chat, I hope I'm helping you either like get ready for work, or you're heading off to work and you're taking maybe a train ride or driving in a car and you need something to just by the way the time. Oh, okay. Military family wakes me up at 5 a.m. Okay. Grimchild just said, I didn't fall asleep last night. Well, Grimchild, do you ever really fall asleep during the evening time? Like that's like your best time in the world, isn't it? It's 5:18 a.m. Ooh, damn. All right, dead man, you win. You win. Hey, Prue, I know it's 1 p.m. on your side, but the rest of us here in the States are like, wow, like we're really punished. Hey, someone who hasn't been in the chat in a long time was Christy Rand from Hawaii. Yeah, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning or something when I used to go live. It was crazy. All right, guys, everybody have a great one. My new salutation is: do not measure your loves by your hates. We got too much hate in the world, and there's too many things for us to love and to embrace. And to, we can love Marvel comics. Why do we have to hate the other thing? We can love Star Trek. We don't have to hate Star Wars or what have you. So and that's just in the geek culture. But I think sometimes that it's like an infection that can spread to other things. So yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Wow. Zeb says, I usually wake up at 4:30 to 5. Yeah. I'm a 5:30 person. So yeah. So Prue, you're surrounded by a bunch of crazy people, I think. Jim Charles says, may the song touch your heart and bring you joy. Absolutely. Everyone, have a great one. And oh, by the way, for anybody who's brand new, who doesn't normally see these videos, I end up adding something at the end. So like, subscribe here and take a look up and below for some videos that might come along or whatever. So take a look at those. Everyone have a great one, and then take a look down and doobly doo. Join the Discord. JP's been gracious enough to create a great and engaging Discord channel if you want to continue the discussion when I'm gone, and also drop in any links or pictures of things that you cannot do in the chat as well. So may your steel give you protection and strength. Grab sword. High adventure!